Hey everybody, it's Steve with Sky194 and appreciate you stopping by and checking out my video. And today I'm just doing a real quick track guide and show the setup that I used on the AMG here at Monza. So let's get started. This should be real quick. Just go around and show you a few little key points and like I said, show you the setup. So let's get started. Of course, it's real critical to get a good drive off a parabolica there, which is always hard for me. But that's definitely one of the keys. And there's the first key right here. Basically, this is where it all begins, right here. Right there is the 150 marker. So that's the 150. That is a good judgment of where you want to hit the brakes for this first chicane. Again, every car is going to be a little different depending upon how much rear wing you have, the brake bias. There's a lot of variables. I always start by braking before the 150, and then depending on track conditions and things like that, unless I really know the setup, then I can go in from there. But usually that's a good starting point. If you have your car working well, right here where the line is about as deep as you can go. There's a line right there across the track. That is as deep as you can go. And even then, you better have a good setup, jam on the brakes and everything. You can see that's, probably, there's 100 foot, so it's probably, 140, well, probably 120, 130. So you're definitely cutting it close there. But you can see I'm getting on the brakes right now. That's where I hit the brakes, so I'm always, I have a little bit of room. But basically, just past the 150 or on that line is basically right where you want to go for this first chicane. And let's get back. And of course, it's really critical to cut as close as you can to that curb, so you can straighten the wheels and get the drive coming off of there, so you can get this drive going down this straightaway. And of course, I've hugged this all the way around. And here's the second one here. There's another critical spot. I always brake right there where that orange, see where that orange is? Right there on the end of that guardrail. That's usually a really good place to start, and then you can work your way in from there. I will start there, or if the track conditions are green, or basically the track isn't really great as far as grip, I'll start there, but I'll go maybe up to near that 100, and that's it. Even then, usually passing somebody, that is as deep as I'll go. And even then, a lot of times I'll have to go into first gear because you've gone in so deep, it kind of meshes you up going through here. But that's as deep as I'll go. So let's get back started. You can see I'm getting on the brakes right there. Again, it's just basically chicane, come off. I just go through there in second gear. Tackle the HUD. I go through here in third. Let's back up. Basically, I downshift and hit the brakes coming right. See where that orange marker is? Right there on the fence, on the guardrail right there. That's basically right there. So basically right there, I'm already on the brakes and downshift in one gear to get into this corner. And this corner, you want to turn in a little early. This is a corner you don't want to late apex this corner. You want to turn in a little bit early and to go through it. So let's go back. Of course, runoff right there. And then right there at the 50 is where I hit the brakes and downshift again. And of course, I'm in fourth and go down to third. And this one, you want to more late apex it. And of course, it's kind of a double-bladed sword because that's what the fastest way. But also, if you miscalculate, like I've done a few times in the past, you can end up running off and messing up and things like that. But to get the quickest time, to get the late apex, because I mean you're doing like 160 by the end of that next straightaway. So you really you need to get a good drive off of there. So you really want to get a late apex if you can. But let's keep going. Of course, this is pretty simple. Basically, just all the way. I hug it and just slowly work my way to the right. And that's the next spot where I usually brake, right here. Let's see here. There we go. Sorry about that. Right here is usually where I go for the brakes again. Right there where that orange, that guy standing right there at the end of the guardrail, that's where I usually will brake if, kind of like back at that the first or the second chicane back there, if the track isn't the greatest, I will brake there. Or, if I'm not sure of what's going on in front of me. But as deep as you can go is the 100. Right before the 100. Basically, like right before the 100 is as deep as I can go. So that's where I try to go. And then we'll pick it back up. And right there is where you're wanting to go across. Maybe a little bit more to the right to where you're not hitting those... you're not hitting these right there, those bumps, but you're basically wanting to clip this curb, either barely touch these things or not touch them at all. And you can see where all the black is. I mean, that's where you're really wanting to go so you can be set up for the next right-hand turn. And all this is to where you're doing all this is, this is a legal lap. This is not something that you're going to get, a track warning or anything like that. So, I hug that to the right, on the right side. Sometimes I'm up on that green, but I try not to be. And then again, you can touch that right there on the left, right there. I'll show it again. Right there. And you can touch that. Try not to hit it too hard because that will upset the car a lot. If you just barely touch it, it's okay. But if you really smack it, yeah, you'll upset the car. I mean, like right there where I'm hitting it, right here, right along that, you can see some of the black marks. That's okay. But if you hit that right there, where the yellow is, if you hit the end of it, it's not so bad. But if you hit the yellow part, yeah, you're gonna really launch it. So again, you're wanting to get a good drive coming off of here. Again, another where again you swing it out that way, and again that's all legal. And again, right here is where usually I'm hitting the brakes again. Right here at just usually right around this 100 to inside the 100. Again, it all depends on track conditions and the car setup. But in the beginning, if I'm trying a new setup, I'll go at the 100. And sometimes, like I said, I'll start working my way in on each lap to see if I can get a little bit deeper. Of course, parabolic, I try to hug the inside as much as I can. And I can try to hold the brake a little bit if I need to make the car rotate, but just barely. And that lap was a 49.22. So, like I said, that's the same exact setup that I did with I think I ran a 4880 and a 4885, but it's a good setup. I mean, that's race setup. I mean, that's what I'm doing in the race, and I did that for qualifying too, or not qualifying, but in practice. So I'll show you now the setup part of it. And this will take real quick. And I ran 25 and 25.5 on the left for air pressure, and 26 and 26.2. Again, that all changes depending upon the heat of the track. So I'm always messing with that as far as the tire pressures. Negative 3.4 on the front for the camber, negative 2.5 on the back. Electronics, I got 6 on the traction control and 3 on the ABS. Of course, fuel, I had 46 liters in it. And of course, I barely made it. If y'all watched the race, it came right to the last. I barely made that 20-minute race. Right at the end, I was running out of fuel. There's the brake bias, 64. Anti-roll bar for the front, and I got a 6 on the rear with a 180 on the preload. And then there's the springs set up, front and rear. Dampeners, I didn't really do anything to, so I'm sure that could gate a little bit more by playing with them a little bit. And then there's the ride height. I got 76 in the back and 50 in the front, and that's really as low as I want to run it in the front, just for the fact that you might be able to go faster, but in a race you could definitely hit stuff, or if you hit a little going over a curb or something, you really could upset the car and end up getting spinning out. So I try to run it just to, that's just enough to clear just about everything. The rear wing, I got 3. This front splitter, I got it maxed out at 11. And, of course, I got the brake ducts at 3 and 2. So, and of course, there's the front end variation at 3.2. So, that's the exact setup that I used. And hopefully that helps. And like I said, I'm not used to doing these track guide things, but hopefully you can get maybe a few tips and a few things that'll help you out. Monza's like, it's difficult, but it's not difficult. It's not it's one of those things where it looks easy sometimes, but it's kind of hard in certain areas. So a lot of tracks are a lot more technical than Monza, but it's still real difficult when you're trying to get every tenth of a second out. So I really appreciate you coming by, and I hope this helps. And y'all take care. See ya.